Jocelyn is a successful businessman, but he is also self-centered and condescending toward women. He uses deception to win the affection of young women. At the restaurant, he caught up with his friend Max, who is a physician. While they were there, Max made an effort to persuade Jocelyn that he should just be himself and avoid engaging in such activities. Jocelyn receives a phone call and learns that his mother, Odette, has died. He rushes to her funeral service. Upon arriving at his mother's funeral service, after mistakenly going to the wrong one before, he got to know that his dad had decided not to come. Lucien, his brother, says that he should visit their mother's room once before they sell it. He scrolls through the old photos and finds a locket. While he is seated in a wheelchair, he puts on music, starts dancing, and moves his hands around in a circular motion. A young girl enters the room and sees him dancing, which startles him. She apologizes and says she is their new neighbor and needs some help moving around her dresser. But since Jocelyn is in a wheelchair, she says that she will do it herself. She introduces herself as Julie Montier, a life helper who takes care of people like him who are disabled. She tells him that if he ever needs any help, she can provide it, as she is currently unemployed. Forced by his habit, he decided to go after Julie. He reaches Julie's apartment next in a wheelchair and asks her for a coffee at his place. It came out while they were talking that the two of them weren't married to each other. Jocelyn lied and said he doesn't work, which he later corrected, and said he works as a general manager at Iron Company. He wanted to show Julie that he had some assets and was rich. Julie invited him to a barbecue at her parents' house on Sunday. Jocelyn parks his luxurious car some yards away from the house and takes out a wheelchair to commute to the house. A dog comes barking at him near the house. Julie comes to his aid and transports him inside their garden in his wheelchair. He was met with a series of awkward and uncomfortable situations as soon as he entered their garden. A girl in a wheelchair emerges from the house, holding a pie in her lap. Julie introduces that girl as Florence, her single sister. Jocelyn understands why Julie invited him to a barbecue in the first place, so that she could spend time with her sister who has a disability. Florence and Jocelyn were left alone after the barbecue to talk. Florence asks Jocelyn about his work. As the conversation goes on, Jocelyn gets to know that Florence plays tennis, is even a violinist, and plays classical music, but Jocelyn hates classical music. Jocelyn was hesitant to talk to Florence at first, but as time went on, he found that he enjoyed doing so. Later, Jocelyn is shown at the swimming pool, where Max asks him to tell Julie the truth about him, which he refuses to agree to. When Julie arrives at Jocelyn's house, she rings the doorbell, but Lucien is the one who opens the door. Julie says she just wanted to return Jocelyn's gloves that he left at her parents'. She points out the wheelchair and says that it's his chair. Lucien got confused and invited her inside. After having a conversation with her, Lucien can confirm that his brother fabricated his disability story for the girl. He decided not to tell her the truth but later confronts Jocelyn about the situation. In Jocelyn's opinion, everyone cheats, so he won't be telling the truth to Julie. Lucien then explains to him that he doesn't love himself, which is why he is hiding. In the next scene, Jocelyn puts on his shoes and starts running, as he is preparing for a marathon. When he finally arrived at his office, he was drenched in sweat, and he immediately began changing his clothes there. Marie, Jocelyn's assistant, enters his office while he is changing his shirt to inform him about a meeting at 2 p.m. and leaves. She returns after a minute, saying there is a physically disabled person waiting to see him. As soon as she was telling him, Florence entered the office, and Jocelyn sat on his office table to conceal the fact that he was not disabled. She enters and immediately apologizes for her sister's attempt to arrange a romantic encounter between the two of them. She invited him to a tennis match at Peretti Stadium if he wants to see it. Jocelyn reaches the stadium to watch the match, and a strange man starts staring at him. He found that very uncomfortable, but got to know that the man was deaf and was trying to read his lips to understand what he was saying. When Jocelyn saw Florence playing the match, he started having feelings for her. Even though Florence lost the match, he was very impressed with her. He was about to leave after the game when Florence emerged from the room in the hallway. Jocelyn was fortunate in that there was a wheelchair nearby, and he rushed to sit in it. After congratulating her for the match, he stumbled as Florence pointed out that he was sitting in her chair. Jocelyn paused, but then managed to get out of the situation by saying that he had some problems with the wheels of his chair and asked his assistant to get hers. Florence invites him to have drinks with her friends, who are all handicapped. Jocelyn was powerless to say no. Jocelyn has some weird conversations with her friends and suddenly wakes up from the dream, fearing that he won't be able to keep his truth hidden. Marie comes to Florence's house to thank him for inviting Jocelyn to the match. Florence invited her inside for some tea. They both share some laughs. Marie storms into Jocelyn's office and tells him that he is doing the wrong thing by hiding such a big thing. She also informs him that he is going to see a classical concert in Prague where Florence is playing, as he signed a contract with the team, Sparta. Also, she orders Jocelyn to tell the truth to Florence. He is shown in a tuxedo, asking for a wheelchair at the hotel's reception, but because he didn't understand the language, the simple task of asking for a wheelchair turned into a farce. Finally, after several attempts, he was given a small bike that he took to the concert. When Jocelyn sees Florence playing the violin, he falls in love with her and starts to love classical music. After the concert, he waited outside for Florence. She came and was surprised to see him. One of Florence's friends, while leaving, informs her about the place they will be having dinner. Instead of having dinner with her friends, she asked Jocelyn if he wanted to dine with her. Jocelyn was happy to hear this, and they both went to a lovely rooftop restaurant. While they were having a lovely conversation, one of the singers begins to perform Jocelyn's mother's favorite song. When the singer approaches him and hands him the microphone, Jocelyn begins to sing the song as well. They went to Florence's hotel after seeing the sunrise together. Florence invited him for a last drink in her room. Jocelyn agrees. While waiting for the elevator, as Florence took the elevator first, Jocelyn realized that he doesn't want to hurt Florence by being sexually involved with her by being dishonest. So, he used the elevator to go to Florence, but said that he won't be able to stay. Jocelyn kisses Florence on the cheeks and leaves. Florence is then shown talking with her sister Julie at their parents' house. She says she likes Jocelyn because he makes her feel whole, and he always makes her laugh. Jocelyn goes to a party with Max. Marie inquired about Florence's reaction after learning Jocelyn's truth at the party, but to her surprise, Jocelyn did not tell Florence the truth. Jocelyn is shown sitting in his room listening to classical music. He calls Florence and a drink or dinner. Florence agrees. They both decided to meet at Jocelyn's house. In the next scene, Max and Jocelyn are at a restaurant where Max warns him to tell Florence the truth before it's too late. Jocelyn agrees that it's time that Florence knows everything. Florence comes by Jocelyn's house for dinner. She sees a piano and starts playing it. Jocelyn attempted to tell Florence the truth, but he was terrified. While having dinner, Florence asks Jocelyn what happened to him that made him use the wheelchair. Jocelyn pauses for a second and then answers that it was a horse accident. Florence shares her story of how she lost her legs. She also told her how she was betrayed by her ex-boyfriend. His ex-boyfriend lied to her and she can't forgive a person who lies to her. After which Jocelyn decided not to tell her the truth. They shared some beautiful moments. Jocelyn is shown with Max and Marie where he is talking about how he screwed up by not telling Florence the truth. Also, Florence wants to meet his friends, and Max and Marie are the only people he knows. Max says that if he won't tell her the truth, then Max will. All three of them reached a restaurant where Florence was waiting for them. While having dinner, Max says to Florence that he has to tell her something. Jocelyn deliberately drops soy sauce on his pants and asks Max to take him to the bathroom. There they both argue how Florence should know that truth. The next day, Lucien is spotted ringing Julie's doorbell with flowers to apologize for being late. The next thing you know, Julie is approaching Jocelyn and slapping him across the face. She threatens him that if he does not tell her sister the truth within 48 hours, she will. Jocelyn asks Julie if she may tell Florence because she is sensitive, but Julie refuses. Jocelyn visits his father. He told his father about the entire event. His father tells him to travel to Lourdes, where people pray and miracles occur. He can go with Florence and pretend that his legs have miraculously recovered. Julie and Florence are in a shop where Julie says that Jocelyn is not right for her. Suddenly, Florence's phone starts ringing, and after talking on the call, Florence told Julie that Jocelyn wants to go to Lourdes with her. Julie realizes Jocelyn's plan, but before she could tell her anything, Florence told her that she knows that Jocelyn is not disabled. She decided not to say anything to offer a parenthesis of happiness against a lie. She just wanted to see how far he would go with his lie. Julie asks what she will do when he tells the truth, to which Florence replies, "Nothing, say goodbye." Jocelyn, Florence, Max, and Marie are seen driving to Lourdes. They are talking about how miraculous that place is. After reaching there and inquiring about how miracles happen, a priest took them to the church. Only Jocelyn was taken inside by the priest, who told him that if he got up after leaving the church, he would be lying twice. Miracles are rare, and when he walks out of the chapel, many people will be hoping for him. Jocelyn asks how he knew that he wasn't paralyzed. The priest answered that his shoes were worn off. Jocelyn went outside the church in a wheelchair and decided not to stand up. They stopped on the way back to grab some things. Florence, after seeing Max's face, realizes that he knows the truth but is struggling to keep it inside him. They stepped out of the store. As Max asks some strangers for a cigarette, Florence is moving forward in deep thought. A bus appeared out of nowhere and was about to hit Florence when Jocelyn stood up and pulled her aside. Florence acted as if Jocelyn rising was a miracle, and Jocelyn began to act as if it was a miracle as well. Florence was upset that Jocelyn had not told her the truth and left with Max and Marie. Jocelyn realized that she knew throughout that he was lying and hitchhiked his way back. He started to contemplate his actions and was very upset. He introduced new shoes designed for disabled people. He realized that he made a horrible mistake and couldn't lose Florence. He rushed to his car and stopped it in front of the bus on which Florence was traveling. He went inside the bus, apologized to Florence, and left. Marie comes to Jocelyn's office and starts crying that today is her birthday and she has been working there for 12 years, but Jocelyn never wishes her or gives her any appreciation. She feels like she is transparent to him. She got emotional and was leaving the office when suddenly Jocelyn stopped her. He gave her the birthday present that he bought for her and wished her a happy birthday. Marie recognizes and appreciates Jocelyn's transformation. It was the day of the marathon for which Jocelyn was preparing from the beginning of the movie. He was very distracted because of past incidents related to Florence and wasn't able to run properly. He eventually collapsed on the ground. Florence comes in front of him. She carried him in her wheelchair, and they both raced in the marathon. After crossing the finish line, they both kissed. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.